Cowboy took in a stray Apache girl, not knowing her mother would steal his heart. Wild West story, the morning light spilled across the cabin, turning the walls a soft gold. Elara rose slowly, the warmth of the bed still lingering in her bones. Outside, the wind had calmed and the distant cliffs glowed in the twin sun's gentle light. She stretched and glanced at Cale, who was already moving about the cabin, preparing breakfast with quiet precision. "Morning," she said, her voice soft. Cale looked up, a small smile forming on his face. "Morning. Sleep well?" "Better than I expected," she admitted. "I didn't know if I'd even survive the first night out here." Cale chuckled lightly. "It's not as bad as it looks. You get used to it." Elara watched him as he poured a warm, nutty drink into 2 cups. There was a calmness about him, a steadiness that made her feel safer than she had since leaving the shuttle. She took her cup and inhaled the sweet aroma, letting the warmth spread through her. They ate in silence for a while, the only sounds being the gentle hum of the cabin and the distant call of wind across the rocky cliffs. After breakfast, Cale spoke, his voice casual but deliberate. "You'll need to know how to take care of yourself out here. Not just survive a night, but a day, a week. There are storms that can blow in without warning in the terrain. It doesn't forgive mistakes." Elara nodded. "I want to learn. I don't want to rely on anyone forever." Cale raised an eyebrow, a faint grin tugging at the corner of his mouth. "Good. That attitude will keep you alive." He led her outside, pointing to the solar collector that provided power to the cabin. The metal panels were dusty and scratched, but still functional. He handed her a small toolkit and showed her how to clean and repair minor damages. "You see this?" Cale asked, tapping the small scratch on one panel. "A little care here, a little adjustment there, and it lasts another season. The same goes for life out here. Little steps, little attention. You keep moving, and you keep learning." Elara listened carefully, her hands steady as she mimicked his movements. She was surprised at how natural it felt, how the tasks grounded her. For the first time in weeks, she felt capable, independent. As the day stretched on, Cale shared stories of his life on Calidora. 9. He spoke of ancient mining ruins, hidden water sources, and the rare flora that glowed faintly at night. Elara asked questions, fascinated by his knowledge of a world she had never known. "You've been here a long time," she said at one point, looking around the cabin. "Aren't you lonely?" Cale shrugged, wiping his hands on a cloth. "Sometimes. But solitude teaches you to notice things you'd miss otherwise. The stars, the wind, the quiet. It's easier to hear yourself think when no one else is around." Elara considered this. She had always lived surrounded by people in crowded cities where silence was a rarity. Here the quiet was strange, almost alive. And yet, it wasn't frightening anymore. It was comforting. By afternoon, the sun hung high over the cliffs, casting long shadows across the rocky ground. Cale suggested they explore a nearby canyon, one he described as beautiful in its own quiet way. Elara agreed, eager to learn more about this planet and the man who had given her refuge. The canyon was narrower than the cliffs they had crossed, the walls glowing in shades of orange and copper. Small, glowing plants dotted the edges, their light soft and soothing. As they walked, Cale pointed out various signs of wildlife, tiny creatures adapted to the harsh environment. Elara listened with rapt attention, storing each lesson in her mind. "See those rocks?" Cale said, crouching beside a jagged formation. "They're soft underneath the surface. Step wrong, and you could sink half a foot before realizing it. Always watch your step." Elara carefully placed her feet where he indicated, her confidence growing with each careful movement. She smiled at him. "You're like a teacher." Cale laughed softly. "I guess I am, but out here, it's not just about teaching. It's about learning, too. Even I don't know everything this world can do." The day passed quickly, and soon the twin suns began their descent. They returned to the cabin, carrying small bundles of glowing plants Cale had collected. Elara helped him place them in jars, their light adding warmth to the already cozy cabin. As night fell, the stars emerged, scattered across the sky in unimaginable patterns. Elara and Cale sat outside on a low cliff, gazing at the glittering expanse. "It's beautiful," Elara whispered. Cale nodded. "It is. Makes you feel small, but in a good way. Like there's so much to explore, so much left to see." Elara leaned back, feeling the cool rock beneath her. For a moment, All the fear, all the uncertainty seemed to melt away. She wasn't alone anymore. Suddenly, a soft beep echoed from a device on the cabin's wall. Alara's heart skipped a beat. She recognized it immediately. It was a transmission from her abandoned shuttle, faint and distorted, but definitely a message. "What is it?" Kale asked, noticing her tension. Alara hesitated, then held up the small device. "It's from the shuttle. Someone's trying to contact me. I don't know who or why, but I think they know where I am." Kale's expression shifted just slightly, a mixture of concern and curiosity. That could be trouble. Out here, people don't usually send friendly messages. Alara's hands trembled. "I don't know what to do. I can't go back, but I don't want to ignore it either." Kale reached out, placing a reassuring hand over hers. "We'll figure it out together. First, we make sure you're safe. Then we decide the next step. You're not alone, remember?" She looked at him, grateful for the calm certainty in his eyes. "Thank you. I don't know what I would have done without you." They spent the evening planning quietly, the transmission device humming softly beside them. Kale taught her how to trace the signal without revealing her exact location, showing her ways to stay hidden while still receiving messages. Alara absorbed every detail, her mind sharp despite the worry twisting inside her. Later, as they sat near the warm glow of the cabin's lamp, Kale handed her a small notebook. "Write things down," he said. "Your thoughts, your plans, even fears. It helps clear your mind. You might be surprised at how useful it becomes." Alara accepted it, a small smile tugging at her lips. "I will. Thank you for everything." Kale shrugged lightly, pretending not to notice the gratitude in her tone. "It's nothing. Just part of living out here. You take care of each other, even if only for a little while." The night deepened, and the twin moons of Calidora. 9 rose, bathing the canyon in a silver glow. Alara wrote in her notebook, her pen moving slowly at first, then faster as words flowed from her heart. She wrote about the shuttle, about her fear of being abandoned, about the strange, quiet man who had become her companion, and then she wrote about something she hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. Kale watched her, saying nothing, content to let her find her own rhythm. Outside, the wind whispered across the cliffs, carrying with it the promise of storms and distant travelers. But inside the cabin, there was warmth, and there was trust, and there was a budding bond neither of them had expected. As the night stretched on, Alara realized that perhaps being stranded was not a punishment, but a chance. A chance to learn, to grow, and to discover someone who could be more than a stranger in a remote cabin. The stars twinkled above, and somewhere deep in her chest, a spark of hope grew stronger. Tomorrow, she knew, would bring new challenges. But for now, for this night, she was not alone. And that, she realized, was enough to make the entire frontier feel a little less empty. The morning light on Calidora. 9 was sharp and white, cutting through the thin haze that clung to the canyon walls. Alara woke to the soft hum of the cabin, the solar collector quietly drawing power from the twin suns outside. She stretched and glanced out of the small window. The landscape shimmered with heat and light, and a gentle wind stirred the glowing plants outside. Kyle was already awake, tinkering with a small device on the table. He glanced at her and smiled. "Morning." "Sleep well?" Alara nodded. "Better than last night. I think I'm starting to get used to this place." Kale chuckled. "Good. You'll need all your energy today." "There's a storm coming." Alara frowned. "A storm?" "Yes," Kale replied, his tone calm but serious. "Solar storms on this planet can be tricky. The wind picks up, dust and energy particles whirl through the canyon, and if you're not careful, even a small slip could lead to trouble. We need to secure everything outside." Together, they stepped into the bright morning light. Kale led her to the solar collector, the jars of glowing plants, and the small garden he had cultivated near the cabin. Alara followed closely, listening carefully as he explained how to anchor each piece of equipment and protect the plants from the swirling winds. "You'll learn quickly," he said, watching her work. "Most people would panic, but you're calm and careful. That will serve you well." Alara smiled faintly. "Thanks. I think I'm learning." By midday, the sky had changed. Clouds of shimmering dust and faint electrical energy began to twist across the horizon, forming patterns that seemed almost alive. Kale checked the instruments, his brow furrowing slightly. "This is going to be a strong one," he said. "We need to prepare the cabin. Close shutters, seal the vents, make sure nothing flies away." Alara nodded and helped him, fastening metal panels over windows and securing every loose object. The wind started to pick up, a soft whistle at first, then a low rumble that made the cabin walls vibrate. As they worked, Cale paused and glanced at her. "There's something you should know," he said, "about the cabin. And me." Alara stopped, wiping her brow. "What is it?" Cale took a deep breath. "This cabin isn't just a shelter. There's something underneath it. A small starship. Prototype technology I've been keeping hidden for years. I was planning to leave the galaxy entirely, to escape the people chasing me." Alara blinked, her heart skipping a beat. "A starship? Here?" Cale nodded. "Yes. I've maintained it in secret, making sure no one else ever finds it. It's why I stay out here, away from the main settlements. But now that you're here, I thought you should know. You might need it if things get worse." Alara absorbed the information slowly. The isolation, the harsh beauty of the planet, the quiet man who had become her companion. All of it suddenly made more sense. "I don't know what to say," she whispered. Cale shrugged lightly, a faint smile tugging at his lips. "You don't need to say anything. Just trust me for now. That's enough." Before Alara could respond, the first gust of the storm hit. The wind rattled the shutters and made the cabin groan. Dust and glowing particles swirled in the air, and the lights flickered. Cale moved quickly, guiding Alara to the interior of the cabin. "Stay close," he said. "Hold on to something if the wind gets stronger." Alara obeyed, gripping the edge of the table as the storm intensified. Outside, the canyon howled with energy, and the walls seemed to shimmer with a strange electric light. Despite the chaos, Cale remained calm, adjusting instruments and ensuring that the cabin systems remained stable. "It's like the planet itself is alive," Alara whispered, awed despite her fear. Cale nodded. "It feels that way sometimes. This planet has moods. You respect them, and you survive. You ignore them, and, well, you get lessons fast." Hours passed, and the storm raged, a relentless dance of wind and light. Alara and Cale stayed inside, sharing stories and laughter to keep the fear at bay. They spoke of dreams, of cities they had left behind, and of the worlds they longed to see one day. In those hours, a quiet bond formed, stronger than either of them had expected. Alara realized she trusted Cale completely, and Cale, in turn, found himself drawn to her courage and curiosity. When the storm finally subsided, the cabin was quiet except for the hum of the solar collector. Outside, the landscape had changed. Dust and debris littered the ground, and the glowing plants were bent but not broken. The stars emerged in the sky, brighter and sharper than before. Cale stepped outside, surveying the damage. "Nothing major," he said. "We'll fix it easily." The storm was strong, but it respected the preparations. Alara joined him, looking out over the canyon. "It's beautiful," she said softly, "even after all that chaos." Cale smiled, a rare, open expression. "Yes, there's beauty in the storm, if you know how to look for it." As they worked together to restore the garden and the cabin, Cale shared more of his story. He had once been part of a research team exploring frontier planets, developing technology that could change interstellar travel. But a rival corporation had tried to seize the research, forcing him into isolation. The cabin, the prototype starship, the careful secrecy, all were part of his plan to survive until he could finally leave the galaxy for good. Alara listened, fascinated. "You've carried all this alone?" Cale nodded. "It gets lonely, but the frontier teaches you patience and resilience." Alara felt a surge of admiration. He had faced dangers she could barely imagine, yet here he was, calm and steady, guiding her through her first real trial. She realized that the bond forming between them wasn't just comfort, it was trust, built in the quiet moments of survival and shared wonder. That evening, they sat outside again, the twin moons casting silver light over the canyon. Alara opened her notebook and began writing, her pen flowing quickly as she described the storm, the landscape, and Cale's stories. "You write well," Cale said quietly, leaning against a rock nearby. "I like to capture what I feel," Alara replied. "It helps me understand it." Cale nodded. "I understand. Out here, it's easy to lose yourself if you don't. Writing, remembering, it keeps you grounded." For a long while, they sat together in silence, watching the moons rise higher and the stars twinkle against the deep black sky. There was a sense of peace, of connection, that neither had expected when they first met. Finally, Cale spoke. "Tomorrow we'll need to check the prototype. Make sure it's still ready in case the galaxy decides to pay me a visit sooner than expected. Alara looked at him, a mixture of excitement and nervousness in her eyes. A starship? That's incredible. I never imagined. You don't have to imagine, Kale said with a small smile. You'll see soon enough. But for now, rest. We've earned it after today. Alara nodded, feeling a quiet contentment. She lay down on the bed that night, the events of the day replaying in her mind. The storm, the secrets, the shared moments of laughter and learning, all of it had brought them closer. For the first time since leaving her old life behind, she felt not just hope, but a sense of belonging. Outside, the winds had calmed completely, leaving only the soft whisper of distant currents across the canyon. The stars above seemed to shine with approval, as if recognizing the bond forming between the two unlikely companions. Alara closed her eyes, feeling a strange warmth in her chest. She had come to Cowboy expecting isolation and fear. Instead, she had found trust, friendship, and the beginnings of something she had not anticipated: love. And as the twin moons rose high, casting silver light across the quiet cabin, she realized that the frontier, with all its challenges and mysteries, was not a place to fear. It was a place to grow, to learn, and to discover not just the planet around her, but the person she could become and the connection she could share with someone who truly understood the beauty of surviving together. Tomorrow, she knew, would bring new tests. But tonight, in the calm after the storm, Alara understood something important. No matter what challenges awaited, she would not face them alone. And that realization, simple yet profound, made the entire frontier feel full of possibility. The morning light spilled over the cliffs of Cowboy, painting the rocky landscape in soft gold and copper. Alara awoke with a sense of determination she had never felt before. The events of the previous day, the storm, the discoveries, and the quiet bond she shared with Kale had shifted something deep inside her. She had found strength in the isolation, courage in the unknown, and a connection she never imagined possible. Kale was already moving about the cabin, adjusting the instruments that monitored the small prototype starship hidden beneath the floorboards. The hatch was open, revealing the sleek lines of the craft, its metal surface gleaming faintly in the morning light. "Morning," Kale said, glancing up from his work. "We've got a visitor approaching." Alara froze, her stomach tightening. "A visitor?" Kale nodded. "Yes, someone is following the signal from your abandoned shuttle. I don't know if they're friendly or not, but we need to be ready." Alara took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. "What do we do?" Kale smiled faintly. "We don't panic. We stay calm, we use our wits, and we stick together. That's always been the best way to survive." The ground trembled slightly as a small scout ship appeared over the canyon edge, its sleek silver hull reflecting the twin suns. It hovered for a moment, scanning the rocky terrain. Alara's heart raced, but she remembered Kale's calm presence and mirrored it, standing tall beside him. "Time to move," Kale said. He guided her toward the hatch of the prototype ship. "You'll need to trust me completely." "I won't let anything happen to you." Alara nodded, a mixture of fear and excitement stirring in her chest. She followed him inside the starship, marveling at the controls and the soft hum of the engines. The interior was compact but efficient, designed for speed and safety. Kale guided her to a seat, showing her the basic controls and how to stabilize the craft. "Just keep your hands on these," he said, pointing to the primary controls. "And don't panic. I've got the navigation covered." Alara nodded again, her fingers trembling slightly on the controls. The scout ship hovered closer, scanning the terrain as if searching for them. Kale engaged the engines, and the ship rose smoothly from the canyon floor. Dust and glowing particles swirled beneath them as they lifted into the sky. "Hold on," Kale said. "We're going faster than anything out here expects." The scout ship followed briefly, but Kale's skillful piloting allowed them to weave through the canyon's narrow passages. Alara gripped the controls tightly, her heart pounding with a mixture of fear and exhilaration. The twin suns reflected off the canyon walls in a dazzling display, and for a moment she felt like she was flying through a painting. "Almost there," Kale said, his voice calm and steady. "Once we clear the canyon, we'll be safe from sensors." Alara exhaled, trying to calm her racing thoughts. She had never imagined such a moment, escaping danger in a ship she hadn't even known existed, guided by a man she had only met a few days ago, and yet she trusted him completely. Finally, they cleared the canyon, the rugged cliffs giving way to open sky and distant asteroid fields. The scout ship faltered, Unable to follow through the tight, rocky passages, Kale smiled. We're clear. Alara let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. That was incredible. Kale chuckled softly. Incredible, yes. Dangerous, maybe. But always worth it. They soared past glowing nebulae and shimmering asteroid belts, the twin suns casting long streaks of light across the ship's hull. For the first time, Alara felt truly free. The frontier that had seemed so lonely and threatening now felt vast and full of possibility. As they traveled, Kale shared stories of his plans for exploration, of planets untouched by settlers, of hidden valleys and secret oceans beneath icy crusts, of civilizations waiting to be discovered. Alara listened with rapt attention, captivated not only by the worlds he described, but by the passion in his voice. You've seen so much, she said softly. I never thought I'd have the chance to see even a fraction of it. Kale smiled at her. You will, and you won't be alone, not anymore. Alara felt warmth spread through her chest, a mixture of gratitude and something more, something she had only begun to recognize in the quiet moments of the cabin. Love, perhaps, though not the dramatic, rushed kind she had read about in old books. This was steady, patient, growing in the spaces between trust, laughter, and shared danger. Hours passed as they navigated the asteroid fields, the ship gliding effortlessly through the void. At one point, they paused near a small, uncharted planet with deep blue oceans and lush green forests visible even from orbit. Look, Kale said, pointing to the planet below. No one's claimed this one yet? It's untouched. We could explore, learn, and maybe even call it home, at least for a while. Alara pressed her hands against the viewport, marveling at the sight. It's beautiful, she whispered. Like a new beginning. Kale glanced at her, his eyes softening. Exactly, and maybe that's what we found here. Not just a place, but a chance to start over together. Alara's heart lifted and she smiled. I'd like that. They spent the next few hours charting a safe course around the planet, planning a landing spot and discussing what they would need to explore safely. The excitement of discovery mingled with the comfort of companionship, and for Alara, it was the first time she had felt fully at home since leaving her old life behind. As night fell across the void, the twin moons of Calidora, 9 glimmered in the distance, far below them now, and the stars stretched endlessly in every direction. Alara leaned against the control panel, feeling the gentle hum of the engines beneath her. Kale joined her, placing a hand lightly on her shoulder. You've done well, he said softly. Not just with the ship, but everything. You've adapted quickly, and you've trusted me. That means more than you know. Alara looked up at him, her eyes shining. I trust you because you've shown me care. You didn't have to help me, and yet you did. Kale's expression softened further. Sometimes the right thing is also the simplest.
We look out for each other.
That's all there is. For a long moment they sat in silence, the stars reflecting in their eyes. There were no words needed. None could fully capture the relief, the joy, and the quiet thrill of survival, of trust, and of companionship. Finally, Kale spoke again. Tomorrow we land. We explore. We learn. But tonight, we just enjoy the stars and the fact that we're still here, together. Alara nodded, a gentle smile on her lips. Together, she echoed. The night passed peacefully, with the hum of the starship as their lullaby. When morning came, the small planet below beckoned, its oceans sparkling and forests stretching into the horizon. Alara felt a surge of anticipation. This was more than survival now. It was adventure, possibility, and a life they could shape together. Kale guided the ship carefully through the atmosphere, and Alara helped monitor the instruments, her confidence growing with every adjustment. They landed on a soft green meadow near a glistening river. The air was fresh, filled with scents she had never smelled, alive with the sounds of creatures she had never seen. This is perfect, Alara said, stepping out onto the soft grass. The warmth of the sun and the gentle breeze filled her with a sense of wonder she had never known in the city she had left behind. Kale joined her, and together they explored the edges of the meadow, discovering small pools of crystal-clear water and plants that glowed faintly in the shadows. They laughed as they stumbled over curious flora, shared stories, and imagined the life they could build here. As the sun set over the distant mountains, painting the sky in shades of orange, pink, and violet, Alara realized that the frontier had given her more than she ever imagined. She had found safety, trust, adventure, and most importantly, a companion who shared her journey. Kale stood beside her, watching the sky. "It's a new beginning," he said softly. Elara took his hand, feeling the steady warmth and reassurance it offered. "Yes," she said, "a new beginning, together." And in that moment, with the stars emerging above and the soft glow of the twin moons in the distance, the frontier felt less like a lonely expanse and more like home, a place of hope, discovery, and love found in the most unexpected of places.